Have you ever been awake way too late, either staring at a email from your boss or a text message from someone that you promised yourself you would not text, or in the middle of handling a chore or a task that you know could have waited until tomorrow, and then suddenly you start to feel this tightness in your chest? Maybe your heart is racing or your stomach is like tied up in knots, and your logical mind somewhere inside is saying, stop. Don't send the email, don't send the text message, stop the chore, stop the task. But you find yourself moving forward like you're in autopilot. You're sending the thing or you're continuing to do the thing. And the next day you feel that buyer's remorse. You are exhausted, having regrets, and you're wondering, why do I keep making choices that I think are bad choices? Why do I keep making the wrong choices? If you've ever felt like your mind and body in these moments are speaking two different languages, this video is for you. We're going to explore how making better decisions or making the wrong decisions is not just a matter of willpower. There is something going on in your nervous system that is important for you to understand. Hi all, I hope you are doing well today. So before we jump in further, let's do a quick check-in. How's your body doing right now? What's going on in your shoulders? What's going on in the jaw and in the neck? Do you need water? Do you need to get up and shake it out or stretch a little bit? Is there absolutely anything you can do in this moment to nurture or soothe your body a little bit? If there is, go ahead and take a pause and do that. If you are new here, my name is Lauren Ludlow. I am a licensed therapist and I specialize in somatic work and working with individuals and couples who want to heal more deeply or change long-term patterns by working with their nervous system holistically. And that means working with thoughts and emotions and behaviors, but also sensations in the body. When it comes to decision making, we like to think of ourselves as rational people who are making calculated choices, at least on some level, maybe not all the time, but often or most of the time. But if we could really kind of peek into the brain when we are making choices or when we are forming reactions, we would instead see like a soup. And this soup is made up of, yes, some logical thoughts and calculations, but also your survival mind scanning your environment and your body for clues as to whether you are safe or not and making split-second decisions. And the brain taking into account all of these memories, often decades of memories and patterns, and trying to see what information can be drawn from them. And also you'd see in that soup your mood that week or your emotions going on in that moment. You might also see in the soup a video that you just watched or a discussion you just had with a friend, and all of these little fragments, including desires and unmet need, and all of these things coming together to form reactions and decisions. One of the main ingredients in this soup that makes our reactions or our decisions is our understanding of real danger versus perceived threat. Actual danger is something that could hurt you, that is happening or really about to happen in the moment. So when you're thinking about actual danger, think about a car swerving into your lane, or when you see hot coffee or hot water pouring out of a cup headed towards your hand. That can actually hurt or harm you, and it is either happening or immediately about to happen. When actual danger comes up, your mind and body go into this survival loop where your body is bypassing your prefrontal cortex and some other logical parts of the mind that move slowly, and it goes right for moving, split-second decisions, all the parts of the mind that operate the quickest, like your reflexes, to help you to move, to avoid the danger, or to react really quickly. And then your survival mind is scanning your body and using your body to scan the environment around you to know if that danger is over. And when your survival mind picks up distress or sensations of distress in the body, it goes, the danger must be continuing. And it keeps moving really quickly, and it can get you caught in this loop until your mind is able to sense through your body and through your senses that the danger is over enough for now to start to come down. Now, as opposed to actual danger, perceived threat are all of the things, all of the factors that could eventually lead to danger at some point in the near or distant future. Now, listen to how broad that is. And your nervous system is often trying to protect you from perceived threat as much as it is trying to protect you from actual danger. It's trying to stop the threat before it becomes danger. And our perception of threat isn't rational. It comes from that soup that I mentioned before. It comes from the brain doing all of this complex pattern recognition. And sometimes that pattern recognition is on point. Many times that pattern recognition is off base. Many bad decisions or decisions ultimately that you maybe regret later or were not in alignment with your values come from choices that are based on perceived threat as opposed to actual danger. So let me give you some examples of what that can look like. Let's say that you grew up in a household with a lot of financial instability, and because of that financial instability, things around you felt very chaotic, very out of control, and your whole life felt unstable. And so you become an adult who works very hard, who works overtime, who is always reaching for the next career goal, for the next savings milestone, and you look up and you have fallen into the danger because you are chronically stressed. You are feeling a lot of instability and chaos because your life is so overwhelmed with work. Let's say instead that you grew up in a household where there was abuse, and because of that abuse, you never felt safe or secure. And so you address that threat that abuse could be coming for you in the future by looking for partners who feel very, very safe and that they need you. They rely on you. You feel this sense of power in the relationship. But then you look up and you're walking into that danger, still feeling very unsafe, still feeling very insecure in all of your relationships because you are a parent and not a partner. You are raising this person who's relying on you and who you cannot rely on back. And so you never really have that sense of safety or security in your relationships. Let's say instead you are deeply sensitive and you have experienced a lot of hurt and loneliness in friendships because of this. So in order to protect yourself from the threat of more hurt and loneliness, you withdraw from relationships, or you become very, very inflexible in your friendships or start to lash out. And instead, you find yourself walking into the actual loneliness and the actual hurt happening because conflicts go awry or a lot of your friendships fall apart. These challenges and these disconnects of understanding threat and assessing threat versus really understanding when danger is happening, when the thing is actually happening, can leave you feeling like you are always making the quote unquote wrong choice, or you're always making decisions that are not aligned or attuned. You may look up and feel like you never have enough time, and all the time that you are spending is not going to important stuff, and your relationships feel imbalanced, and overall, your life just is not moving in the direction that you want it to because of this threat versus danger challenge. This shows up in our social world too. And if you didn't expect this to get political, sorry, not sorry. I don't think that there's any way to fully understand our own personal well-being without really exploring social well-being as well, and the social factors that impact us and the people around us. Women, the BIPOC community, or anyone who's part of communities that have been marginalized, our nervous systems often carry the weight of systemic weathering. That means constantly being in environments where it actually makes sense to be on high alert, navigating systems that cause us to feel unsafe, operating in spaces and places that train the nervous system to really perceive threat very quickly because there is threat and there is this heightened level of danger, whether that danger is being in a meeting and being embarrassed or overlooked or humiliated, or that danger is walking into a space expecting belonging and not experiencing it because of the identities that you inhabit, or even the real threat of physical violence or physical danger. All of these things being heightened for people who are part of marginalized communities train the nervous system, weather the nervous system to have a very high alert for threat. And that can make it really hard to differentiate between what is really good threat understanding, what is really rational threat assessment, what is danger actually happening that needs to be responded to, versus what are potential threats in the distance that acting on them might actually cause us to make decisions that are not right for us now. This whole threat versus danger thing even impacts us collectively in terms of how we think about policies in our communities. Research has indicated that even when crime levels drop, there are lower levels of crime, oftentimes our public perception of the threat of crime, our understanding of how likely we are to be the victim of a crime, does not drop along with the statistics. Our public perception of rates of crime, our collective fear of being a victim of crime does not drop along with those statistics. That means even when rates of crime are relatively low, it can be extremely challenging for public policies that try to get to the root causes of crime, like poverty, like lack of substance use treatment. It can be really hard for those things to gain traction over urgent policies that advocate for things like cracking down on crime and locking people up. Even more pressing in our current times is the way that a dangerous narrative that presents trans people as threats is being weaponized to make the public perceive people who are trans as threats, when really the actual danger, the current danger happening, is that trans people are more likely to be victims of violence, up to 4 times more likely than their cisgender counterparts. So there are policies being advocated for that really operate on this weaponized narrative of trans people as threats over the real danger being addressed, which is trans people are more likely to experience violence. So in light of this, what do we do? How do we become better understanders of what is threat, what is danger, and when our perception is on or off, so that we can do better for ourselves and better for our communities and the people around us too? A key part of all the practices I'm about to suggest is really accepting your mind's irrationality and your nervous system's challenges and being able to make really values-aligned choices because of its protective inclinations. Once we accept our nervous systems are super protective and sometimes that makes threat perception off, we can start to engage with practices that allow our nervous system, our minds, and our bodies to work together to make better and more intentional choices. So practice number 1 is delay decision making. Get used to making your choices more slowly. Like we said, the logical parts from the mind move slow relatively to the survival mind, which is very quick. So getting into the habit, making it a general rule for yourself to take time to make choices, can bring us from a place of reacting and acting on threat to really assessing and making wiser choices. What this can look like is, even for small choices, pausing to take 15 to 30 seconds before making or expressing the choice. If you're in front of someone and they're asking you a question like, hey, do you have time to XYZ? Say, let me consider that for a second. And then literally give yourself a 10-second, 20-second pause to think it over. If it's a more complex decision, get into the practice of taking an hour just to make sure that you're in a good regulated place to make it, or a very complex decision, taking a day or two, but just making it a practice and a habit. You just don't make decisions quickly. That for smaller ones or ones in the moment, you're taking that 10 to 15 seconds. Even that is enough to give your logical mind some opportunity to catch up. And for bigger ones, you're taking an hour, you're taking a couple hours, you're taking a day. Next practice is to engage with expansion. How can you expand around the thoughts and the sensations that are letting you know that something is off with your decision making? Sometimes when you get these physical or mental signals saying, there's something off about this choice, it can feel very overwhelming, right? So if you're in the midst of making a choice or you're about to react to something and you notice that tightness in your chest, you notice a physical sensation, you notice a thought, then name it, right? Name, out loud, I'm feeling tightness in my chest, or I'm feeling tension in my stomach, or my hands feel tingly. And then maybe name the thought that you're experiencing. I'm thinking I don't know if I want to do this. I'm thinking maybe this is right, maybe this is wrong. I'm thinking that there's a lot of pressure here, right? If you can notice the sensation and name it as a sensation, if you can notice the thought and name it as a thought, it can give you some room to expand around it so it's not so overwhelming. The next practice is engage with something quick to help to regulate the nervous system before moving forward with decision making whenever you can. If you notice a sensation, if you notice a thought that feels activating or agitating, do a little something for the nervous system to calm the body. This can be something as simple as a voo breath. That means breathing in and then breathing out with a voo sound. So just simply breathing in and then making that as you exhale. Or if you know something else quick works for your nervous system, do that instead. Every nervous system's different. Once you've had some time, you've delayed decision making so that you have a minute or more or half an hour or an hour to make your choice. Once you have gotten some expansion, once you've regulated the nervous system, a powerful practice for being able to make decisions that are more aligned with your values is to make a literal list of the information you need to make a wise choice. The list serves two purposes. Number one, the list helps you to really think through what are the pieces of information beyond just the automatic patterns that your mind reaches for that you need to make a wise choice, but it also limits your information gathering. We don't want attuned decision making to become a reason that you never actually make choices, right? So making a list says, this is the information I need. No more, no less. I'll be able to make a choice after I gather this, but I won't make a choice until I gather this. For a simple decision, it might be 3 items on that list. Again, this is just partially to slow down your mind. It could be, do I have time to meet up with a friend for coffee? Well, the information I might need is, what else have I got going on this week? So what are my energy levels going to be? And where would I fit it in my calendar? Short list, right? But if it's a more complex decision, that list is going to be longer. One of the items that you can include on your list of information that'll help you to make a wiser choice is checking in with the body. Noticing what goes on in the body as you consider your options and being curious, asking yourself, what do those sensations maybe mean? Getting more in tune with your nervous system when it comes to understanding threat and danger is a process. It is a practice. It is going to take time. So much of this threat and danger assessment is automatic. So your first sign of progress is any sort of slowing down that you can do, any sort of adding in additional space, any sort of building awareness. Those are going to be your first steps of progress, and then you can build on these practices over time. You really deserve to be making more choices that come from power, that come from wisdom, that come from a place of healing for you and also healing for the people and communities around you. And that can mean making fewer choices that come from just automatic snaps decisions about protection. I hope that this gave you some more grace for yourself, some more understanding of your nervous system, and some more tools for your toolkit. If you found this video helpful, go ahead and check out my other videos or feel free to add a like to it. In addition, I invite you to check out my website. I'll include a link below to discover some more therapeutic resources, but also if you live in the state of California, to think about scheduling a consultation with myself or one of the therapists in my practice. therapy can be another tool in your toolkit for helping to more deeply understand where your patterns come from and make long-term changes by befriending your nervous system. Thanks for checking out this video, and I hope you have a wonderful day.